Okay, now we are recording and going live. So welcome to the first class of 15 of how to be a top producer. So this information here that I'm going to be giving you over the next, 3 weeks is basically a couple different programs. One is from different coaches. So I want to, of course, do that footnote that these classes are from Brian Buffini, uh, Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Jared James. These are like national real estate coaches out there. And I kind of put it all together in the things that I like. A majority of this is from my notes from Brian Buffini. He's my favorite out of all the coaches, some of the coaches I mentioned. So I know it's easy to Google and see and YouTube all different kinds of coaches and suggestions of what people do and say out there in the real estate, experts out there. But so these are things that I put together of the different programs that I like myself. So the other most important thing, especially to agents out there, and I'm sorry, I have my virtual screen. So if you're getting in and out of my back of my head, I see my virtual background's not doing as good today as it usually does. But the number one thing I always say with being a top producer is this class, or these classes, are if you are really looking to be a very, I use that term lightly, successful agent, and you want a lot of business. Because I personally believe, and a lot of times you don't hear this, is that it could be a very, very good agent that just sells a few houses a year, as long as they have the skills. So sometimes you'll hear in coaches and in programs that, like, you're not going to get good at something unless you do it over and over and over again. My personal opinion, I see agents today that have been in the business 20, 30 years. They have done lots of business. They're very successful. They're still not good at some of the things they should. And any of you out there that are new or have had sales, and you're going to go, wow, the experience with that agent, this agent wasn't good, and they're supposed to be experienced. So they're supposed to be successful. So I feel that in a lot of industries, but especially real estate, you could overcompensate in one side. Example, overcompensate. Agents could be very successful in real estate because they're great with their clients, great with getting leads, but terrible with communication with other agents. So so any of you watching this, I don't want you to take that you could not be good at what you do unless you sell 100 houses a year, or 200 houses a year, or 50, and make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So, but a lot of this is going to be about how you could grow your business to that level. So I just want to make clear on that, because I never want any of my agents and any agents watching this to think, just because I'm never going to get to that level, I don't want to be at that level, I have other incomes and jobs and interests, and I have agents that are retired from other things and they just want to do a little bit, but do a good job at that. So the numbers thing, take that in consideration. So I'm going to be looking down a lot because I have a list of all my notes. I got my glasses on because I can't, in my 50s now, can't read everything. So I got a lot of my notes here. So I'm going to go down some lists of things that, what does it mean to be a top agent? So to be a top agent is trying to get to the greatest level at the highest degree of skill. So a top producer to me is someone that is getting to the greatest level of where they want to be, with lots of skill to get there. Just like in sports, you have to have certain things that you have to do to get to a certain level, and to have the skills to do that. And a producer or a top agent, someone that actually closes deals, is someone that actually brings business to themselves. Those top agents bring business to themselves and what they do and how they do that. In the next 15 classes or next 3 weeks, we're going to go over different parts of that and what makes a top agent, work with the buyers and sellers and the skill to get there and the things that you need to do. But there's basically 3 major things or areas top agents are highly, are top at their level in these 3 things. And those are: 1, habits. These are all the 3 common denominators of top agents, is that they have the habits that bring about the buyers, the sellers, the transactions, the things. They have the habits that and we're going to go through some of those over the next couple weeks. So today is just kind of a summary of what's going to be happening. 2, they have the attitude. They have the attitude that they can do it, a good attitude, positive attitude. They have the great attitude that I'm going to be great at it. I'm going to do the things I need to do. I'm going to take care of my clients. I'm going to be great with communication. I'm going to be great with negotiations and handling others. You have to have that great attitude. And then you have to have the skills to do that. You have to have great skills to do that. Now, you have to have a good combination of these 3 things. You have to have the habits. You got to have the attitude and the skills. Now, this is the thing that you'll see, and I've seen over several years, I've seen agents that have really great with one, like every brand new agent that just went through all the classes and just got their license. They usually, that attitude is on the high. It's like, sky's the limit. I'm going to be great at this. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to do some great things. I'm going to build a business. The attitude's off the chart of that, but their habits and their skills are way at the bottom. So you can have a great attitude, but if you don't have the habits and you don't have the skills yet, you're not going to get there. And that's part of this business. And then years go by, and if you're not juggling the 3 of these, I've seen agents that have, they're great, all of a sudden they get to the point, they have the skills, they have the awesome, they know what they're doing, but their attitude's poor and their habits are not, they're not have great habits to prospect and organization and working with their clients through the process. So you could have all the skill in the world, but if you don't have the great attitude, you don't have the habits to keep it going. And then the other way around, if you have great habits, but you don't have the attitude or skill, you're going to be going through all the motions. And I see this with prospecting. I see agents, they have the habits, they're doing the things that they need to do, but they don't have the right attitude. So like, they're calling people with the wrong attitude. Who's going to want to work with you? And then if you don't have the skills to actually put the transaction together and negotiate, because I see that, I was just on a phone call with an agent 2 minutes right before here, actually 2 calls with 2 agents right before I jumped on, with how to negotiate and how to get these offers accepted for their buyers. So again, we were brainstorming, nothing wrong with these agents. I love brainstorming, but the example is that they just were asking for more ideas to bring their skill level up, skill set. How do I get these offers approved and get my buyers in there and get them their foot in the door with these offers? So, and then I see a lot of it, the attitude comes down because of the market. Sometimes people are just sad and that they're not producing what they need to produce and not keeping that attitude up. So those 3 things. Now there's also a timeline or development of an agent. And this is basically what I put, there's 3 levels of an agent, or levels, but not, time doesn't dictate this. What I mean by that, there's you could jump to these different levels. And first is and Brian Buffini used this, and I like it. There's a licensee, someone who just has a license, and then another level is just an agent that has some skills and have got some experiences and they're there. And then the last is a top producer, someone that does very, very well with real estate. So there's a new licensee, or I wouldn't say new, just a licensee. Someone just has their license, because there's agents out there that just have their license. And maybe a lot of you, especially our agents, have heard me say this a lot, is that the bar is so low when it comes to staying in the business. What do you need to stay in the business? You need to pay your board dues and MLS fees. You're in the business. You got your license. You pay your board dues. You pay your MLS fees. Now, no one likes to pay bills when they're due, but no one says, I want more bills. But when those dues come up, and fees for MLS and board dues, as long as you just have a minimum of one sale a year, and guess what? About, I would say, my guesstimate, 20 to 20, we'll just say 20, just to be conservative. 20% of licensees, not always the same people, have no transactions in here. Zero. 20% sell zero. Why is that? And agents ask, well, why are they in the business? Because the bar is low. They paid their board dues, MLS fees, maybe $1,000, $1,200 total a year. They know if they have at least one sale, but sometimes agents ask me, well, they didn't even have a sale, so why stay in it? Well, because they think it's like gambling. Like, okay, I'm paying my board dues and MLS fees in hopes next year I'll have at least one sale or two sales, and pay myself back. It's kind of like why gamblers keep gambling, because they want to make back, and and a lot of people feel like if they don't keep my paying my dues, I'm never going to win it back. Does that make sense? So, and those agents, not always the same agents, and this is where I go off on different than a lot of coaches, is that those agents still can be good agents at the skill level, not the habits, the skill, if they have the support and an office management or a team leader that's going to help them walk them through the process. That's why I don't mind that as a broker. I have this conversation with so many brokers, like why don't you just get rid of your agents that are not doing anything or none? I said, because I reach out to them and I say, listen, whenever you're ready, I'll help you bring your skill level up right away. I'll hold your hand. So any agent, especially Century 21 Homestar agents, your skill level by yourself might not be where it is, but with our office, with myself, our Brenda, Debbie, Julia, Carly, Brooke, all the people in our office, we can help bring your skill level up instantly, because we'll hold your hand. We'll partner with you. I mean, we're like partners in your business. So, it's kind of like, if you have bad example, but you're playing like 3-on-3 basketball against some people. You have two people, you just pick 6 random people. 3 on one team be pretty good basketball players, 2 on another team stink. And then you bring LeBron James in, you bring that one person in that's excellent and beats everybody, your team's probably going to win. Does that make sense? That's kind of how I vision when an agent's with a good office and has management and support and someone that's going to hold their hand. If they don't have the skill, they're going to pull them up. If they're with offices and companies and things that don't have that, and they're new licensee, I'm not going to go into detail, and don't want to get into any trouble of certain, when I see brand new agents at certain offices, certain companies, I know they don't have that skill level. They don't have the people there to pull them up. It's tough. But so as any agent, you got to look for that. So the licensee, you go through those things. The brand new could be forever, but usually that licensee is usually a couple years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years in the business. And then they go into an agent. In my opinion, what agent is, some people who's been in the business for years, has some transactions, and just there doing a few transactions, trying to figure out, should they do this full-time, part-time? They're just dancing on the line of which way they want to go and which way they go. And to me, in my experience of 30 years, some of these people don't make it and some do. So they're just there. You never know which way they're going to go. And then there's the top producer. Now, there's not, like I mentioned just earlier, there's not a timeline. They don't say you're going to be a top producer in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I've seen people go to top producers, be a top producer within 2 years. Because they heighten they have the attitude, they have the habits, and they're working on their skills or they have the office or team to help them build those skills quicker. Like I'm going to use a lot of sports analogies here. If you have the right coach, you could be you in the right program will jump your skill level up than someone just in the business, on that. And then sometimes what happens is I see is that those habits and skills and attitude go up and down throughout the year. So you just got to be really know where you are in all three of those. Because sometimes I have agents that I talk to that are like, oh, they think they have the greatest attitude, but it shines through, and I see the light diminish because again, being in the business 30 years and starting this office over 24 years ago, probably right about now, if I go onto I keep a spreadsheet of our roster. I have probably, because over 20 years, have just over 500 agents active with us. I probably have about 500 agents now or more that have been with us in the business over 20 some years. They're now out of the business, all different reasons. But I know I could easily go through that list and find a lot of agents that like that one, they had such high hopes. They were gung ho. They got the attitude. They did well. And then something happened. Maybe they didn't hit a level one year. And then all of a sudden the attitude came down, and then the habits started going away. And then if you don't keep doing it, then the skills start diminishing with that too. So in this next 3 weeks, a lot of these classes that I'm going to be doing will hopefully enhance your attitude, because I'm going to say over and over and over again, everything that I'm telling you, anybody watching this has the ability to do. Everybody can do it. There's no one out there. There's no one that could be watching this class, this video, and not do it. But of course, if you're watching this and you see this video, there's a spark there somewhere. You want to learn something, even just for me. So there's a spark there. That's good. And then, of course, a lot of these classes over the next 3 weeks are going to be about how to get your skill level, prospecting, working with buyers, working with sellers, and really coming together with getting the right skills and habits to do the things that you need to do to be a top producer. So there's a few things, 7 things or threats of why agents don't hit certain levels and why they don't hit those levels. So I have a few lists here to go through. These are the 7 things that really hurt agents and getting to that top producer status. Number 1 is no systems in generating leads. So in the next few days, we're going to go over some systems and ideas. So 1, they have no system, which is something that you could keep on working on of generating leads. 2 is more emotional, is difficulty weathering the highs and lows of this business. There's going to be highs and lows. I mean, just in transactions, all of a sudden transaction starts great. Things fall apart and agents pulling their hair out. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Other things I see is that, being such a large company and thousands of sales every year and tens of thousands of sales, there's legal situations that come up. And there's nothing worse to me to see a legal situation. Usually it's a buyer and seller, nothing the agent did, but they bring the agent in and it just pounds the agent emotionally because they've never been through it. Me, unfortunately, being in business over 20 years, we've gone through, I don't even know, can't even count how many different lawsuits. But again, 99.999% of the time, nothing an agent did wrong. It's just someone wanted to complain about something. And when I see an agent that has such a high energy and attitude, and then someone bring it down, they just don't have the emotional wherewithal to deal with this. So many times I'm like, I have to talk to agents every year, several agents every year, and just say, listen, you did nothing wrong. It's just the situation, the buyer, the seller, the situation. And it's just they're taking it out on everybody. And that's the way it is. So that's one example. Also, the highs and lows of income. You're going to have highs and lows. The market's going to shift. You're going to have a lot of buyers here, sellers, ups and downs, and you have to be able to, at least financially, but more important, emotionally and mentally, have be able to get through it. Number three, another reason why top agents don't get to that, some people don't get that top agents level, they don't have know how to stand out above their competition. What makes you better? It's very easy for a buyer or a seller, potential buyer, to find an agent. We're everywhere. They just have to drive down their street or every other street or in their neighborhood. They'll find a for sale sign, and there's an agent that's working in their market. They could call the number on the sign. There's real estate offices around the corner from them. They see advertisements. They see the pop-up ads on their Facebook. They see all over. It's very easy for someone, and you don't have to go somewhere. It's not like a store. Realtors are not like a store. What I mean by that is, like, some businesses do well because they place their business in an area. Like if it's I'll just say if Starbucks, if they put the Starbucks in a right location, it does better than another Starbucks because people are going there out of location. They still have to do their service and do a good job, but they're picking that out. But realtors, someone could just sit at home and just make some phone calls, interview some realtors. So you agents that need to get to that top producer level are not putting in not figuring out how to market themselves and show what makes them stand out above the competition, and remind those potential buyers and sellers what that they have to remember when the time is right, why they should use you above someone else, not just because they know you, not because you gave them a business card, not because you send them a calendar once a year and emails. What makes you better than someone else? 4, lacking the structure and time management. Time management is so important because it's funny when I have this conversation with agents, is that now you're your own boss. If you separated yourself from, you are now 2 different people. Like, you're a boss, and we're going to go over that in a minute, and you're the employee. What are you going to tell yourself to do today? You're paying yourself. You're paying yourself. You don't even think about it. You're in the business. Your job is to generate leads. Let's say, what are you going to tell yourself to do? And if you had someone come in, imagine if you had someone you were paying as an employee to help you with your business, what would you tell them to do? Would you just tell them to show up in my office or my house and just do things? That's what a lot of agents do. But what would you say? What would you tell them to do? And why aren't you telling yourself that in the time management, time blocking? Okay, I'm going to prospect. I'm going to call past buyers. I'm going to follow up on this transaction. I'm going to go door knocking. What are you going to do all day to be in the business? Number 5, the inability for cash flow, the inability to really manage yourself as a business. So a lot of this is going to be being a business and being not just commission in, spending the money, waiting for the next commission check, and actually running yourself like a business. Number 6, acquiring the skills that again, agents that are not at the top level of where they want to be, they just didn't get the skills that the market requires. So I just kind of went over that. What I mean is that they didn't acquire or get the skills for the specific market. And like right now, what's that one of those skills is how to negotiate, how to talk to your buyers and what the things that they should do to make their offers look great when there's 25 other offers at the same time. So again, with 2 calls right before this, I'm helping raise the skill level of these 2 agents and their buyers on what should we do to help get these deals done. And I still see it. I still see different things, and there's different, and I won't go into detail and get off on a weight of a tangent, but there's certain things and opinions on what's the best way to handle those situations. And that's a skill of which way you want to go. And sometimes I have agents that go, well, like example, I'll just give you one. It's escalation clauses. It's my opinion. Bad idea. Why? Because I tell our sellers, don't look at the escalation clause. Just look at the top number. Go with the top best number. For financial, there's other parts of the deal. But in my opinion, in this market, escalation clause confuse people, and it's not good to use as a buyer because won't go way into detail. But again, just about a year ago, I thought they were great, but the market shifted. What I saw it from offers coming in on our listings and helping agents. And again, even myself, I didn't have this skill or ideas 2 years ago, but I shifted with the market. I learned something. This is what the market skill is requiring now. And 7 and last is lacking consistency on an ongoing basis. You're not consistent. You're not doing it over longevity, doing things that you're going to do on that. So those are 7 things there, but I'm going to go into the core fundamentals of a business, the core things that you need to keep in mind as, again, viewing yourself as a business is one, there's 3 areas. 1, sales and marketing, customer service, and financial management. So sales and marketing, that's the most important part. Without sales and marketing yourself and getting new business, you're not going to be able to apply the customer service skills to handle the transaction, and you're not going to have any money to manage the financial parts of things. So the great thing about real estate, in my opinion, is there's the investment of time versus money is so much bigger. You have to invest a lot more time than money. There's other businesses out there. You got to put in the money. You got to, have a store and pay rent, and you got to hire employees, and you got to buy inventory and equipment and ongoing monthly expenses. But with real estate, where the financial management more about is with your personal, how much money you need to make to pay your bills, to save, to get to the level so you'll stay in real estate full time if you want to make it full time, or just stay in it. That's why I said the bar is low. I mean, so many agents are just staying in it because they just pay their board dues and MLS fees, and that's the minimum dollar amount. But there's those 3 areas. You got to think of yourself as a business. You got to be strong with that sales and marketing. That's most important. You need business, and then you got to know how to handle it so customers come back and give you referrals and can be very skilled in how to handle the business when it comes in. And last is handle your money. I think that one, that's why I say it in that row, because usually that money part is the thing why eventually some agents get out of the business, because they just don't want to pay those bills anymore, or they need more income. So bad financial management. I've seen agents over the years do extremely well, but when they hit one bad year or a slower year or something happened, I saw that with COVID, things slowed down, family things, you couldn't do, and then they get out of the business because they couldn't financially weather the storm of their own personal business, if that makes sense. So next, basically there's 3 let's say jobs, I say this a lot in all my videos, is that you are the CEO, COO, CFO of your business. The chief executive officer is more of the sales and marketing. Two is that COO, chief operating officer, of operating and handling the ongoing clients and what's happening there. And three is a chief financial officer of handling the money that's coming in. So basically those three categories is those CEO is in charge of making sure that business is coming in. That's what examples, but again, oversees all that. I think what I envision and is a board, like there's a board of people looking over you to do those jobs. So think of it more of a company. There's their CEO, but that CEO has a board of directors that's watching over him or her, and maybe shareholders. So what does that CEO have to do? He's got to make sure, she's got to make sure that there's more profitability, there's more income coming in. They're watching those numbers. The COO, that board's looking at their job, they're making sure they're running a tight ship and operations, and things are running smoothly, and the customers are happy, and the things are going well, and the skills, and they're putting the right people in place to do that job. And then chief financial officer, the board wants to make sure they're profitable and that there's savings and there's things in there to reinvest in the business. So think of those three. So a lot of times people think the CEO is the person on top looking over those other people. Not really, in my opinion. It's just part of another job, and maybe there's a board over that. So think of that. If there was a board watching you be the CEO, the COO, and the CFO of your own business, would they be satisfied with you? Would they fire you in one of those categories? If you were your own imaginary board, at the end of the day, would they keep you as your own CEO? Would they keep you as your COO? Would they keep you as your chief financial officer? Would they keep you? Are you doing a good job of that? So more things about what the CEO's job description is: to establish goals, make sales and marketing a top priority, and maintains a peak state of generating leads, generating business. So again, establishing goals, like where do you want to go? How many buyers do you want to have? How many sales do you want to have? What's your goal? Where do you want to be with that? Make sales and marketing a top priority, and maintains a peak state that you can get that done. The COO is more of a deal maker, making the deals, develop skills of a true professional agent, that you are developing the skills to show, I know what I'm doing. When you are a buyer with me, I will hold your hand, I will walk through it, I will tell you, you trust me to handle the process from start to finish. The other thing, the CEO, since they're dealing with the clients, that job description is to turn those clients into advocates for them, and into walking, talking billboards for them. And to compare it, like imagine, like say you have a restaurant that has great with marketing, but they're not good inside. What happens? Clients walk out, or the customers walk out and tell people that it's not good, it's not good. And next thing you know, there's no business. But what happens to restaurants? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have. You're like, well, I went to a restaurant, never knew they were there, never saw marketing from them, but I'm going there because someone told me about it. That's how a lot of top producers build their business. They do such a good job of go above and beyond. That's one of the daily tasks, is just what things to do to go above and beyond. And then they have their clients, they're walking, talking billboards for them everywhere they go. Oh, you got to use Tony. Tony's awesome. I bought my house with Tony. He was so good. He did this, he did that, all that stuff. And you got to go above and beyond. You can't just say, hey, I bought the house with Tony and Tony just got me from start to finish. It's kind of like, well, did you go to that restaurant? Yeah, I went in there, ordered food. They gave me food, I ate. That's kind of how, if you don't go above and beyond, and show people like, you're like, oh yeah, I helped those people. Well, what did you do that was better than to give them even more, a better experience? What did you do? Like, again, I'm using the restaurant as an example. You go to a restaurant, like the service was great, great. The service was on top of things, but the food wasn't so good. So again, that's where that COO, you have to be, watch all parts of it. You have to make sure they're having a good experience with everything. Example, if you're like, oh, Tony was great with communication, but the deal, he kept on forgetting, oh, I need this, oh, we need that, or oh, he forgot to tell me about this, that, but he communicated, he was there all the time, he's always there, but he just didn't follow through with a lot of things. And then the COO also is, that job for yourself is to maximize your time and time management and how to help your clients through the process and manage that. It's got to be a lot of organization. The hard part for agents to get to just a few transactions here to a lot of transactions here is time management and organizing it. Because I've seen agent, you could be busy all day with one transaction at a time. There's always something to do, someone to call, checking on it. It's, but when you have 5 transactions at a time, are you organized with it and time management to that? And then the chief financial officer is making, in that part of your duties, is making sure you have financial controls of your business. Make sure you're in control. You know what's coming in, you know what's going out. Tracks the activity and results of leads and where your time is spent. Like an example, you get at the end of every transaction, you really should be organized and see where that transaction happened, where that originated, where did it come from. I have agents that especially if you're going to invest in leads, I see it happen a lot. Agents that they will invest in lead sources and pay money, but at the end of the day, at the end of the year, they go back, how many sales I get out of it? They don't think of the actual money. They think of leads. Like, wow, I was working with this many buyers and I get this many calls or emails with all of these leads, but how many did you close this year that actually went to a sale? Because they could send you all the leads you want, but are you closing them? Are you closing them? And it's worth the money you're putting in, the time you're putting in. And then the last major thing is, before you spend any money, that chief financial officer says, is it worth spending? Do we have the money to spend? Is it worth spending on something? And what's the risk? Like, I had a great conversation with an agent last week that's going to start investing in lead sources. Now, the one thing just to Century 20 Home Star agents, I really try to give agents ideas of where to go, but I don't share exactly why, because I tell agents when they have successes with that, I'm going to say, oh, they went to this lead source, that lead source. We're all kind of competition with each other too. And I want agents to open up to me and tell me where they're having their successes, but know that I'm not going to go back and tell 20 agents, call this guy or this place, and they're going to start sending leads, and next thing you know, they're competing against everybody. So I want you to be open. I give you ideas. So if you're having successes, but the point I'm getting at, I have an agent that I told a long time ago that, when you have a commission check and you want to invest, then invest the money. So he called and said, yes, I have a couple commission checks coming up, and I'm going to take that investment in one of them and put it into this lead source and see how it goes. And again, there's no guarantee on that, but you had the money. He didn't need to spend the money. He didn't need it for his household bills, and he waited till he got the money to spend. Some agents in bad businesses are playing if come, like, well, if I spend this money now that I don't have, it'll bring me more money later. In real estate, you could put this time in now, get some commission checks, save it, and then use that money, reinvest it in your business. So I don't like to see, because it's better, like I said earlier, time More time is better than money. So there's two types of agents that are, one is transactional type agents that are just looking for transactions, and relationship building agents. I like the relationship. That takes time. Agents looking to build relationships with people. I say this all the time, is that every single person you talk to, you want to build a relationship with them. It doesn't have to be your best friends, but some type of business relationship that you're going to follow up with them and put them on a timeline of when they're going to buy. Part of my coaching with agents, when I do weekly calls with dozens and dozens of agents, I said, how many people did you talk to? Talked about this many people. How many, do you have a list? Do you have it in your notes? Do you have easy accessible to find out when they're thinking about buying or selling? What did they say? They like, I don't know, maybe 3 years from now, maybe 5 years from now, maybe I joke, they say, I'm going to die in this house. And I go, well, how's your health? It's a bad joke, but where is, everybody's in some type of timeline, and then you have to build the relationships. Now, the people who are more transactional, and this is where it's hard to generate business over a long period of time, is that they're focused on just the deal. They're making money over relationships. They just want, I need this deal, I need this transaction. Just looking at the money. Just someone that does what I was just talking about with investing the money. Someone just cashes checks. Most realtors, their financial systems are this: check comes in, money out, spent, done. And then they can't wait to the next deal. And more transactional is people that are more just that salesman mentality, saleswoman, salesperson, that they're looking for the sale, to try to get the sale, try to convince people. Now, if you are making people feel like, you've seen this when you've gone into stores and bought things and and you got that salesman that's just pushing you to get a sale, like they're not going to let you leave unless you buy something. And how can they get that from you? In real estate, still, agents make people feel that way. But in reality, I mean, I always say, can we convince someone to buy a house today if they don't want to buy a house? So your job isn't to try to convince them. Your number one job isn't to try to convince them to buy something today. Your number one job is to build relationships with that people, so they know to call you and want to use you to buy or sell the next house. The relationship agent, which I enjoy this better, is someone that is focused on building a relationship. It's building it over long term, not just, hey, I'm only going to be talking to you if you're only going to buy a house this year. And just someone that builds confidence and trustworthiness in their clients. And I've seen people build relationships with people. This is very important, with people that don't need their service now or not in the near future, but still recommend them. Do you follow me with that? There's people out there, that agents that have such good relationships with people that they know that someday they'll probably use them, because that agent has shown this person their trustworthiness, their skill levels, showed them all the things they're going to do when they're ready, that you've done such a good job to building that relationship, that they're referring you friends, family, and giving you referrals before they even tested your service. That's a great skill to have. When you could convince someone that hasn't even used your service, you're so good at explaining to them and building that relationship of trust without even going through the process, that they're referring you and giving you people, hey, here's any agent, if you're watching this, if you've been in the bit, you probably have people like that. Usually that's why we always continue to go back to that sphere of influence, because usually those friends and family, hopefully your friends, your family trust you, like you, know you're going to do a good job, and refer you. So don't forget about your family and friends. It's just and acquaintances and people that you know, because sometimes agents feel, I think the ones that don't get to that level, like they know I'm in real estate. I'll just wait for them to call me. Or their friends on Facebook. They see me do things and they see it happening. No, you've got to make sure that you follow up with people, building a relationship of trust. Now, me, I'm perfectly example is that as being a broker for over 24 years, and many years ago, I stopped selling. Gosh, I don't even, it's been a long time, where I made the decision to, as a broker and owner, to stop having my own sales because it's taking up my time away from helping my agents. So now I'm 100% broker. Now, what I did too, and I know this is exactly it, I stopped marketing myself, following up with my sphere, my family, my friend, even my family and friends. I still have family that I did, because I'm focused 100% on my agents. When I'm out there, I'm not passing out my cards. I'm not acting as an agent, because every day, all day long, nights, weekends, I'm helping my agents. It's out of my mind and my habits to promote myself as a realtor. So what happened? Business down. Do I get a handful here or there, but just fall across because I've been in the business? Yeah, a couple. Can I make a living as an agent if I just didn't start marketing myself? No. So a lot of agents, my own age, like, what do you do with all your leads? I don't get that many. I have every holiday, I go to a family member, Tony, you still in real estate? Yeah. I actually have family members, friends. Are you still in real estate? Because they're not watching my Facebook. I'm not reaching out to them and as often. And when I do reach out to them, I see them at different things or might talk to them or whatever, but I don't talk real estate all the time unless they bring it up. So I'm not doing the things. So I know, case study of years in the business, just having a license. I have to sit, like, go, hey, Tony, can you help this person buy a house? They were thinking about using that agent. I go, I've been in the business a lot longer than that person. I've got agents. I'm a broker. I've got to resell them. Like, I didn't know that. I haven't heard from you in years. And you don't get your cards anymore and emails anymore to find houses. And I don't get your yearly phone call or quarterly phone call just to see if they know anybody. Asked me, because so my sphere got used to what I was doing, things that are in this class. I stopped doing them and went down. It's kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna age myself here. So I remember in high school, it was a marketing class, and it was a business class, but we're talking about marketing, and they used the example. There was and I never fact checked this, but it sounded pretty legitimate. There's the cigarettes, the Lucky Strike cigarettes. So anybody over than 50, probably like, yeah, I remember those Lucky Strike cigarettes. But there was a story in marketing that Lucky Strike at one point became the #1 cigarette by far, way above everybody else. And then someone in their marketing department said, we're #1. People are using our product. We don't need to market as much anymore or at all, because we're out there. Everybody knows about the Lucky Strikes. People are smoking them. Why do we have to continue to market? Let's take that money out of there. And then their sales just plummeted. I mean, I didn't fact check that, but that sounds legitimate. And also, I've seen it happen in real estate. I stopped doing the things that I needed to do. I got to a great successful level of making money and sales and being a top agent, and still the broker of our office many years ago. And I stopped marketing myself. And where did I see my business? Right down. So I'm still in business. People know I'm in business, but I didn't market to them, and the business came down. So you got to think about that. Two things too. A lot of yin and yang of agents that don't get to the level of agents that do, is that the agents on one side, just like I was talking about, they're thinking about the word of mouth. Like I think the whole example if I was just saying, they think, well, I'm in the business, people just talk about me without me following up with them. Those are more transactional type agents. The working referrals, asking for referrals and building an actual business of getting clients, getting referrals from people, are those agents are more productive in finding people. Like, again, agents think they know I'm in business. I mean, I know you have people like this. No matter how new you are, like I just told someone 6 months ago I'm in a business, so hopefully they use me when they buy, and you haven't talked to them since. It doesn't work that way. You still got to follow up with them. And a lot of times agents will tell me, well, I just talked to them 6 months ago. Well, you got to build a relationship with them. What kind of information do you want? Give them something of value. Tell them what their house is worth now, what's happening in their area. But you should be building enough, close enough relationship with them where you, when you call them, you can ask for referrals. You can ask for referrals and build that. So again, passive way of doing business, active way. Just waiting for business to come and going out and getting it. All right, we're going on 8 more minutes to make that hour-long stuff. So I'm going to breeze through a few of these right here. So this is right out of Brian Buffini's playbook of building referrals. So different coaches, some are, like I said, are more transactional, how to find transactions now, like for sale by owners, lead generation, paying for lead generation, expired listings, not too many out there now, but in different markets there are, and finding business now. They're like, you want to do whatever you can to find business now. I'm more building relationships, especially with new agents that, or agents that are okay financially and they don't need it now. It's kind of like starting off slow. Let's build relationships with people, build it slow. If you don't need it, the agents sometimes that jump in the business, okay, that's full time. I lost my other job or I quit my other job. I got to get deals now. I got to get deals now. And they're just thinking deal, that you get burnt out. And then you're not building relationships and asking for the referrals, and it's not ongoing. It's kind of like back to that restaurant analogy, just let's do a lot of marketing or cheap food, let's get everybody in, and then they come in, they don't have the good experience, and we don't follow up with them as customers to get them back in the door. You want to be more referral oriented. So one of the classes we're going to be talking about is how to build a database. So I don't want to go totally in detail because there's the whole class on that, but there's going to be certain areas that you want to spend more time on and being more building relationships wise. So we're going to go over that a little bit, friends, family, businesses, other things. So you don't worry, when we get into that class, I promise you, I'm going to give you specific things that you can do to find them. I'm not going to say, call your friends, call your relatives, call your people, and that's it. I'm going to give you a few little scripts. I'm going to give you things that agents have done that have worked well for them. And of course, I always leave it back up to you to reach out to me too. That's why I'm doing this more of a webinar, because if I had, I wouldn't get through my material if we jumped questions. So anybody watching this at any time, if there's something that we're talking about, you want to specify to you. And that's where a lot of marketing is, because there's not one way of doing everything. There's more collaboration, brainstorming, and ideas. So a lot of the tips and things I'm going to tell you over the next couple of days or weeks is things that worked for other agents that we came up with in brainstorming ideas. And I'll give you specific examples of where it really worked. We're going to give you different ways to communicate with people, doing things, adopting certain habits and things that you can do in bite-sized pieces. So that's going to go on a lot. Bite-sized pieces. What I mean by that is that example today, say, your goal is like, I'm at 0 now, like I'm a new agent, or I'm at a handful of transactions, but I want to be at 50 transactions. You got to have the habits to get up there. Just like if you said today, I'm not a runner, and I use this example a lot, I'll never, run a marathon. I don't have the attitude or the habits or the skill, the physical skill to run a marathon. In the past, the most I've ever run is 5 miles. But the most I ever run 5 miles, which is decades ago, in one time, do I think I could run a marathon? No, today or tomorrow? No. And if I did have to, and I did do it, how am I going to feel the next day? What kind of, where would my body be the next day? Similar, why I'm using that as an example, when you start slow and building relationships and doing this and doing the right things, like I'm going to contact 5 people today, 10 people a day. If you all of a sudden say, I'm going to contact 200 people a day, and you've never made 200 calls a day. I have agents making 100 to 150 phone calls a day. Did they start at making 100 phone calls a day? No, they built up to that 5, 10, because if you'll burn yourself out, like if you all of a sudden jumped on the phone and made 150 phone calls, you never did that before, how are you going to feel the next day? One, you're going to be tired. Two, you're probably discouraged because, like, I made 150 phone calls and no buyers and no sellers. It's kind of like if you're like, I want to lose 20 pounds. You're like, I went out yesterday and I starved myself and I ate a little bit and I worked out for 4 hours and I'm tired. I'm beat up and I didn't hit my goal in one day. You're not going to hit it in one day. So what if you try to do too much, you're not going to get to that level. You got bite-sized pieces. We're going to go, okay, make a few phone calls, make a few mailers, add a handful of people to your database each day, put them on like if you had to sit there like, okay, I got all my sphere of influence here. I'm going to enter them all in and start working on when I'm going to email them. Put them in a contact management system to remind me when to call. And you just spend all day organizing these people. You're going to be tired the next day. Like, I was data entry all day long. I put in 200 people. Now they're all on my email. They're all on when I'm going to call them next. What am I going to say? Put notes to everybody. If you do it all, like try to power it in a day, you're not going to continue to do it. But if you do a little bit, like back to that running, if someone who's never run before want to run a marathon, they're going to run half a mile, quarter of a mile, start with one lap around the track. Next day, 2 laps around the track. Maybe a week from now, after that, 1 mile, and build your way up. So that's a lot of this relationship building is going to be about that. So I'm going to leave it at that today because we're hitting that hour mark today on things to think about, that what we're going to be doing over the next 3 weeks. Now I'm going to be doing my best. I know these hour-long recordings. I'm going to do my best to upload them to YouTube, my YouTube page, and also probably try to put a link on Facebook too. So a lot of you could rewatch it or that. So this is the first one. I want to make sure my system and everything worked on that and could get it uploaded. So I'll try to do them at the end of each day or by the next day to that. But to all the agents at Century 21 Homestar, I'm going to do my best to, at the end of each week, just like I've been doing with my daily videos. So this is in lieu of my daily videos. So my daily videos are this for the next next 3 weeks. So that's all. There's the hour mark. Thank you very much for joining me. I really do appreciate, love doing this. I could talk for hours, but I've got agents to help, and I know you got business to do, and try to implement some things that we're going to be talking about in this class. So again, thanks for joining. Have a great Monday, and we'll see you tomorrow on Tuesday. Bye-bye.